Welcome to Spotlight in Business. I'm Tammy Defoe, president and founder of GTApreneurs, and I'm happy to introduce to you today Dan Fridmar. He is a principal lawyer at Fridmar Professional Corporation, and he will be the guest speaker at GTApreneurs April 30th business networking event. Before the event, I want you to get to know Dan a little bit more. So thanks for coming on the show today, Dan. How are you?
Thank you, Tammy. I'm doing quite well, enjoying this rainy morning. Very happy that it's Friday.
Yes, yes, I hear you, right? Well, you know what? April showers is supposed to bring May flowers, right? So
I hope, you know what, as long as we don't have one more winter before spring starts, I'm all for it.
exactly. I know, right? When we've been getting pretty lucky so far in a really nice mild winter, which is great. And so I'm just wondering, first of all, I'm going to want to know how that's been affecting your industry, but tell us more about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a lawyer. As many have heard who've come to previous events, my whole shtick is that I write angry letters. So I'm a litigator. I do a lot of disputes in all sorts of civil areas. My main bread and butter is the construction industry. So anything dealing with construction law, mortgages, bankruptcy, business disputes, contractual disputes. So that's a large part of what I deal with. Another part of my practice is the front end side, where I help some businesses, especially small businesses in the construction industry, and generally figure out kind of their structuring, their planning, making sure they have the right contracts so that they can succeed. So that's a big part of who I am, and myself being an entrepreneur and a business person, I'm able to integrate my business knowledge with my legal knowledge to give the best advice on both fronts.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's a great asset you have actually. There's a lot of great lawyers out there, right? But there are some that are employees at companies and they probably just don't have the same perspective as you're able to, offer to your clients, right? And so why did you decide to specialize in the construction industry?
You know what? It's funny. You'll hear every single lawyer say this. You fall into it. In my case, I was when I was in law school, I initially wanted to be a criminal lawyer, and then I realized that the system is broken and that it would be a very difficult career path to maintain. I was interested, however, in the property law and secured lending, and that sort of led me into construction law, because by and large, the entire industry really does focus on helping people get paid for the work that they've done. So when I was in the process of looking for my articling, I was trying to find firms that would specialize in this sort of area of law, just so that I could help people really succeed in getting paid for the work that they've done, right? And in general, with my litigation, I always try to take the approach of what's helping people enforce what's fair, right? And the way that I see it, especially as a business person myself, is that it's only fair that you get paid for your work. So I make my area of law helping those people either get paid or fight off, unwarranted claims for payment.
Mhm. Yeah, you know what? That's actually sad to hear that that sort of thing happens where, people put their hard work into a project and their money and then they're not getting paid.
No, that's exactly it. And especially, in the construction industry, most of the members of this industry are either old school or have been in the industry for decades. And so they've seen an evolution where, let's say, 50 years ago or 30 years ago, for sake, some agreements would be formed just on the basis of a handshake, whereas now you have tens of hundreds of pages in every document, and there's still disagreement as to what that agreement initially meant.
Wow. Oh, that's crazy. Oh my goodness. More and more complicated as time goes on, right? And then now with I don't know how like hacking, there's always these scammers that things go out there. Artificial intelligence, I mean, they're so, complex that you don't even know if what's real and what's not sometimes. So I'm glad that you have the backs of these, people in the construction industry because everyone does deserve to get paid for what they do. Yeah. So can you tell us of any recent examples of people that you've helped that were in a bad situation, weren't getting paid, and then they, now everything's good.
Well, you know what? I'd love to kind of talk on and on about my industry, but I'd like to, I guess, give some more live examples that would help the membership of the GTApreneurs and kind of business people themselves. So one of the recent cases I had was more of a business dispute than a construction one. What had happened is there was an initial partnership between these two individuals. They wanted to open a barber shop together. Right. And so there was some skeletal shareholders agreement put into place. but it wasn't clear as to the terms. It wasn't clear, who exactly was responsible for doing what the consequences were if one of the individuals failed to hold up their end of the bargain and contribute to the business as much as the other. And so what ultimately ended up happening is my client was pushed out of the business because he chose a different strategy in advancing this barbershop, and litigation ensued, and ultimately we were able to help them settle it just by through very, very lengthy litigation. Fortunately, my client, got the better lion's share of what they were owed. The other side was a little unhappy, but thanks to that experience, my client then came back to me in starting their new partnership, where we ensured that all of their paperwork was done properly from the get-go. There were not only, shareholder agreements, but also a memoranda of understanding, supplementary terms and conditions. We had thought out almost anything and everything that could have happened, and also put in processes in place if for whatever reason there was a dispute about something that was missing down the road, how that answer would be solved.
Fantastic. That's yeah, that's great, and I'm sure that actually does happen quite commonly, right? You think, oh, I'm friends with this person, right? We're gonna do business together, everything's gonna work out great, right? Or even your spouses or all different kind of scenarios, right? But I do agree it's always to have best to have things in writing because unfortunately things happen, right? And that can be again end of relationships, right? But I mean financially it can be devastating for you if you're not, you don't protect yourself in the first place.
Exactly. And you know what? It's cultural to some extent. I know that there are certain communities that look down on these sorts of agreements in writing as disrespectful, especially like in some communities, it's almost akin to insulting the person where by asking for this agreement, you're assuming that they're not trustworthy, or you're anticipating that they're going to breach that agreement, and some individuals don't take that lightly. And what I found is especially in those communities, I get involved and I explain to everyone, look, yes, it's unpleasant. Yes, it's not the nicest thing to ask for, but realistically speaking, this is for everyone. It's not just for one party or the other. This is to protect the whole situation,
Mhm.
right? You're going into business. These are the terms of business, right? It's in a very similar way. It's just like any other protection, right? You might want to enjoy the process, but you absolutely need protection to ensure that there's nothing that will go wrong.
Absolutely. Just like cohabitation agreements, right? Like a lot of couples, they move in together and they think, oh, everything's going to be great and stuff like that. And then things happen and, you know, people get, you don't always work out how they want to be working out, right? But, look, I'm so glad that I met you, Dan. And I know you're going to do a great job on April 30th, giving people a lot of great tips all about, business and law and the different things that can help them out. So thank you for coming on the show today. Dan, I really appreciate that. And you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Tammy. I'm looking forward to being there, and I hope to see everyone out on the 30th.
Sounds good.